We gave you every chance. You ever hear silence so heavy it crushes your chest? That was the bridge of the UNSS Resolute Dawn, the flagship of Earth's unified fleet. As we watched the third colony burn on the screen, New Dresden, orbiting the third moon of Jova Prime, turned into ash and static. No survivors. No signals. Just smoke and that damn mechanical pulse the enemy left behind like a mocking heartbeat. I was standing behind Admiral Reyes when the last feed cut. Her jaw was clenched so tight, I thought she might break a tooth. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Because we all knew what was coming. The Karothi Alliance had hit us again. Harder, bolder. No pretense. No diplomacy. Just annihilation. They weren't testing us anymore. They thought we were weak. They thought we were still pretending. And I'll be honest with you, I knew why. For decades, we'd done what the Galactic Concord demanded. We sat at their round tables. We played nice. We accepted the sanctions, the arbitration, the backhanded threats disguised as trade conditions. Hell, we even let them dissect our language, strip our history into nonviolent education packages, and told our children not to say words like warrior or victory too proudly. Wouldn't want to upset the peace-loving species of the stars. But here's the thing. We remember everything. Every insult, every sanction, every time they turned their eyes while a pirate fleet hit a colony. We held back, not because we were afraid. No, we held back because Earth was tired of war. We'd had our fill. 100 nations became one. Not through conquest, but through exhaustion. Unity through scars. A species built not to conquer, but to survive the apocalypse we almost brought on ourselves. They saw peace. They mistook it for weakness. And now, here we were, on the edge. Put on the open net, Reyes said finally, her voice low but iron. The comms officer turned slowly, eyes wide. Ma'am, open net. You heard me. Galactic Concord channels. Unfiltered. Full spectrum. I felt my gut tighten. This wasn't protocol. This wasn't strategic diplomacy. This was going to be raw. Human. The Admiral stood, straight-backed, wrath barely restrained beneath regulation blues. And then she spoke. Attention all members of the Galactic Concord, and especially the Karothi Alliance. You have now attacked 3 sovereign human colonies. You have murdered civilians. You have taken children, dissected diplomats, and laughed at our restraint. She paused, just for breath. But restraint is not the same as pacifism, and mercy is not the same as weakness. The room felt like it was holding its breath. We gave you every chance, every offer of peace, every opportunity to join us in building a future. Her hand curled into a fist at her side. But if your species only understands brutality, then understand this. We have been holding back. If Earth goes to war, we do not half-measure. We do not negotiate through force. We end threats. Entirely. No sound but her voice. Broadcast now across the Concord, across sectors, across systems. Every species that had ever seen Earth's flag and thought it quaint was now listening. This is Earth's final warning. She leaned in toward the camera, and I saw it. That glint in her eye. That spark. If you keep attacking us, we stop pretending to be civilized. Then she cut the feed. The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was electric. Something had shifted. Across every human on that bridge, from tactical officers to starship janitors, I saw in their faces. The pretense was gone. And I knew the rest of the galaxy felt it, too. Because Earth had finally spoken without a filter. No ambassadors. No veils. Just the truth. And now the stars were going to learn what we were before peace. The ones we never unleashed. You don't know what it's like to carry a monster in your pocket until the day you stop pretending it's a pet. After Admiral Reyes' broadcast, the galaxy responded exactly how you'd expect from arrogant bureaucrats and distant warmongers who'd never seen a human fight outside of holovids and archive history. They laughed. The Karothi response came first, mocking, guttural, proud. They said we were bluffing, that Earth wouldn't risk open war against the Concord, that we were too civilized now. Their broadcast ended with a planetary bombardment of a human agricultural moon, Tantalus 6. Just crops and farmers. They thought it'd break us. It did something else. You see, there are things buried beneath Earth's crust, not just weapons, not just fleets, but doctrines locked behind fail-safes. Protocols designed by the last generation of generals who swore, never again unless absolutely necessary. I was there when Reyes walked into the vault on Luna Base. They called it protocol eclipse. Most species developed their militaries like branches on a tree. Small arms, planetary forces, space fleets, covert ops. Earth did that too. But we also made something else. Not a branch, not a division, a shadow. The Eclipse units were created during Earth's last true world war, designed not just to defeat the enemy, but to erase them. Not genocide, not slaughter, but strategic extinction of capability. Sabotage at planetary scale, thought viruses, bioadaptive infiltration, psychological demolition. They were never used. Until now, I was assigned to observe one. Her name was Ren. They didn't give her a rank, just a designation. Eclipse Prime 7. Small, quiet, looked more like a teacher than a weapon. But when she moved, when she even breathed, the air around her felt too still, like the universe was bracing itself. She looked at me that first day with eyes that had seen things no report ever documented. "You're my liaison?" she asked. I nodded. I'm supposed to observe, document, and ensure compliance with Geneva Expansion Protocol. Ren tilted her head. "So, you're here to make sure I don't go too far." "Correct." She smiled. "That's adorable." The transport took us to a recon station just outside the Karothi border, a listening post built into an asteroid, deep blacked, hidden behind a gravity shadow. That's where Ren planned the first strike. She didn't need an army. She asked for 4 operatives. Just 4. They move like shadows. No wasted breath. No chatter. They called themselves the Returned. When I asked what that meant, one of them replied, "Returned from death. Sent back because the war still needs finishing." They boarded the Karothi Dreadnought Graal. That's in under 7 minutes. 17 minutes later, the Dreadnought broadcast a distress signal. Only it wasn't a cry for help. It was a warning, automated, hacked, in their own language, repeating one phrase. "You woke the sleepers. You burned the garden. Now Earth remembers." I watched the Dreadnought drift through space with no life signs. Not destroyed, not exploded, just quiet. Every system intact. Every soldier dead. Neuroparalysis delivered through a customized neurovirus engineered specifically to bypass Karothi resistances. No pain, no alarms, just sleep and never waking up. And Ren, she just sat there, eating dried fruit from a ration pack, watching the silence. "Why didn't you just blow the ship?" I asked her. She looked up at me, because then they'd learn nothing. Later that day, we intercepted Concord chatter. Panic, chaos, denial. Some thought we'd allied with a new Death Worlder species. Others claimed it was a fluke. Rogue tech, a galactic anomaly. But the Karothi, they went quiet. No more border strikes. No more raids. The chain I'd worn for so long, the one called restraint, snapped. In the center of the facility, we found survivors. 15 of them, malnourished, eyes too wide. They didn't flinch at guns. They flinched at footsteps. One girl reached out to me, touched my hand, skin like paper. She looked up and whispered, in perfect Earth standard, "Are you the monsters they said would come?" My throat locked. "No," I told her. "We're the ones who remember what monsters look like." We didn't evacuate. Not right away. First, we opened the vaults. Not the physical ones. The broadcast vaults. We streamed it all, across every Concord channel, every language, every relay they couldn't shut down fast enough. The graves, the cages, the test chambers. We didn't need to scream. We just showed them what was done to us. And across the stars, the silence that followed wasn't fear. It was shame. Some species began to withdraw from the Concord that week. The Glavians held an emergency summit of their own. The Zentian tribunals launched internal investigations. Even the court-hacked, cold-blooded diplomats to the core file for a redefinition of defensive aggression. And then the most unexpected thing happened. The Vothian High Speaker, Giral, the same condescending feathered bastard who once chastised us, appeared on a joint broadcast. He bowed, and said only this: "We were wrong, not just about your restraint, but about your mercy." But not everyone listened. The Karothi doubled down. They activated scorched earth contingencies, targeted escape shuttles, spiked planetary cores, left poisons in their own water supplies to ensure no colony could reclaim them. They believed dying with pride was better than living with shame. We didn't let them choose. On Haler 9, Wren ordered full atmospheric sterilization, a radiation sweep designed not to punish, but to prevent the tech from ever being used again. When I asked her if she felt anything, regret, satisfaction, she just said, "This is what it looks like when you make peace with what you are." And that was when I understood. It wasn't about vengeance. It was about removing the need for it ever again. We weren't fighting just for humans. We were fighting for the part of every species that wanted to live without fear of pretending to be something lesser just to survive. And that's not war. That's liberation. This time, we bring everyone. There's a moment in every war when the lines blur, when it stops being about soldiers or borders and starts being about what kind of future you want to leave behind. We'd reached that moment. But this time, humanity didn't come alone. We brought the others. They weren't fighters, not at first. The Sulektii were translators and culture weavers, famous for their neutrality. The Atruan were engineers, pacifists by birth, their long digits trembling any time they touched a weapon. And yet they came, not because Earth begged, because Earth showed them. The images from Haler 9 spread like blood in water. Billions watched. Whole systems paused. Those who had doubted us, who had believed the Concord stories about violent humanity, started to question. And then something broke. 1,000 little fractures across the galaxy. On the mining colony of Dreska, an enslaved labor caste revolted after watching the human footage. On Ival Station, a librarian from a non-combat species set fire to their own government records just to erase evidence of their silence. It wasn't just a war anymore. It was a reckoning. Our ship, Soul's Edge, docked above Lurvik Prime 3 days after the uprising began there. The planet had been a Karothi stronghold for decades. Strategic, fortified, brutal. They called it a disciplined world. We called it what it was, a prison made of policy. But this time, we weren't leading an assault. We were following one. The resistance wasn't human. It was led by Valari, a race the Concord had once declared non-aggressive to the point of passivity. And yet here they were, standing tall with bloody cloths tied around their pale chests, wielding capture rifles and makeshift EMP darts. And their chant? Not in their language. In ours. No more chains. No more lies. Earth stands. We rise. We landed in the ash fields outside the Capitol Dome and walked into a war zone that looked eerily familiar. Smoke, civilians with medkits strapped to rifles, children helping clear rubble. A boy saluted me, his palms shaking, eyes wide with awe. I knelt. "We're just people," I told him. He shook his head. "No, you're Earth." I found Wren in the central spire, coordinating with the Valari's leader, an elderly woman named Sign, who had never held a weapon until that week. They spoke without words, mostly. 2 souls who understood what it meant to wear a mask for survival. Sign turned to me, voice firm despite the blood on her robe. "We used to teach our young that humans were dangerous, unpredictable, that we had to follow the Concord to stay safe." She looked out the broken window, at her people rebuilding the barricades not for war, but for defense of peace. Now we teach them, humans remember, and sometimes that's the most dangerous thing of all. Within hours, the last Karothi garrison surrendered. Not to us, to the Valari. They knew what it meant. The galaxy was shifting, and we weren't just dragging our species forward anymore. We were pulling others out of the mud with us. Later that night, I sat on the roof of the spire, watching as stars blinked through thinning smoke. Wren joined me, silent as always, and offered me a ration bar. We chewed in peace. Then I asked her the question that had been eating at me since Haler 9. Do you think this ends with us rebuilding the Concorde or replacing it? She didn't answer right away, just stared at the stars. Neither, she said eventually. We don't rebuild cages. We build homes. And we make damn sure no one ever needs to lock themselves inside again. And in that moment, I understood what had truly changed. This wasn't Earth lashing out. This was Earth redefining leadership, not through conquest, but through a single powerful truth. We remember, and we will not let you forget what it means to be free. What fear taught the galaxy? They thought fear was their weapon. Turns out it was ours. Not the kind of fear that makes you cower. Not the kind that builds cages or signs treaties in desperation. No, I'm talking about the kind that forges clarity. The fear that sharpens the mind, that teaches you exactly who you are when everything you love is under threat. That kind of fear? Earth mastered it centuries ago. The Karothi were breaking. Not tactically. Strategically, they were still lethal. Thousands of ships, hardened outposts, and war-trained offspring bred for generational hatred. But inside, cracks were forming. Their soldiers surrendered faster. Their leaders screamed louder in their broadcasts. Their citizens, yes, even those on homeworlds, started asking questions. Why did the humans resist us for so long and still survive? Why are our officers more afraid of 5 humans than 50 battleships? What did we awaken? The answer was always the same. You awakened us. Our next mission was not an attack. It was an arrival. We were ordered to the borders of Karothi Core, 6 planets deep into their space, a no-go zone for centuries, surrounded by mines and defense satellites in fear. But not to fight, to deliver a message. We brought one ship, just one. No escort, no fleet, no threats. And when we entered the system, we broadcast one thing. We are not here to destroy you. We are here to offer you what you never gave us, a choice. That's when they fired. Automated turrets. Kinetic rods. EMP clouds so dense they could melt a cruiser. Our ship, UNSS Verity, shook, bled, cracked. But it held. And then it repaired itself. Because Earth didn't just come back stronger. We came back smarter. AI-assisted adaptive alloy. Reactive hull systems. Fusion-threaded shielding that learned as it bled. They tried to break us. They made us evolve. Inside the command chamber, Wren simply said, "Send the signal again." And we did. This is your last attack. If you fire again, we stop pretending to be civilized. They hesitated. For 12 minutes, their entire defense grid paused. 12 minutes. On a battlefield, that's a lifetime. In a war like this, that's the sound of doubt. Then, something unexpected happened. A single Karothi frigate broke formation, approached us. No weapons hot, no escorts. It hailed us. The voice that came through was rasping, trembling, and laced with something we hadn't heard from the Karothi in years. Regret. I am Commander Varnak, son of Grawl, defender of the third spiral and speaker of the flame. Wren leaned toward the comm. I am Wren of Earth. There was a long silence. Then, if we lay down our arms, what becomes of us? Wren's voice was quiet. You become what you were before the blood, a people, and you rebuild. And if we don't, she didn't raise her voice, then you won't exist long enough to ask again. Varnak surrendered his entire fleet. 10,000 lives. No conditions. That was the moment the galaxy changed. Not because Earth won, but because for the first time in living memory, fear didn't drive a species into madness. It drove them into hope. A dangerous, desperate kind, but real. Species across the stars watched the footage, heard Varnak's voice crack, saw human weapons go idle, saw mercy where they expected fire, and they understood this wasn't conquest. This was Earth's final warning echoing across the stars. And with it came a choice. Not for us. For them. The Concorde broadcast an emergency vote that night. We weren't invited. But we didn't need to be. Because when the vote concluded, the message was brief. The Concord is dissolved. A new council will be formed. Earth will lead the first session. Attendance is mandatory. We are done pretending. They built a new council on neutral ground, or so they claimed. But the moment we stepped onto that station, orbiting the once forbidden world of Tau Prime, we could feel the truth humming through its walls. This was no longer their galaxy. It was ours. Not through conquest, not through fear, through memory, through resolve, through the simple, terrifying power of a species that survived itself, and vowed never to let that survival be for nothing. I stood in the Grand Assembly Hall, beneath banners no longer dictated by the old Concord, but chosen by the species themselves. The humans, the Valari, the Otruan, the newly liberated Courthack Union, even a single Karothi delegation. We didn't demand they kneel. We didn't burn their flags or erase their names. We invited them to speak. And for the first time in galactic history, they listened. The opening address was mine, not Admiral Reyes, not Ren. Me, a liaison, a witness, a civilian who had seen war, peace, and every lie between the two. I stood before the galaxy, not in uniform, not with weapons behind me, but with truth. And I spoke. You asked us for peace, but never gave us safety. You asked us to obey, but never to belong. You feared our strength, and so demanded our silence. We gave you that silence. We offered restraint, and you saw weakness. We offered peace, and you took our children. We turned the other cheek, and you struck it again and again. But Earth is not infinite in its patience. We are done pretending to be civilized, if this is what you call civilization. What you feared, our brutality, was never our danger. Our danger was that we remember every crime, every colony, every scream you hoped no one heard. But now we offer you a final gift. Not revenge, not extinction, structure. A new council, built not on dominance, but on earned respect. From this moment forward, no species will rise by crushing another. No world will burn unnoticed. No cry will go unheard. This is Earth's final warning. We will not become your monsters, but we will never again be your victims. There was no applause, not at first, just silence. Then one by one, the species stood, not in fear but recognition, and they bowed their heads. Even the Karothi, especially the Karothi, Ren watched from the gallery, eyes unreadable, still, as if she were waiting for the world to snap back into chaos. I looked up at her and nodded. We'd done it. Not just vengeance. Not just justice. Balance. The galaxy didn't become perfect that day, but it became accountable. And Earth became the anchor. Not a throne. Not a sword. But a reminder. That peace isn't the absence of war. It's the presence of memory. So the next time you look up at the stars and wonder who we are, just remember, we tried to be peaceful. We begged to be heard. We were merciful far beyond what we owed. But if you come for us again, we stop pretending. We stop asking. And we teach you again what Earth really is.